You had to fight, especially early on, for the things that you knew that she deserved in terms of education and the things that you felt she was capable of. There were schools that said, well, this is not necessary, she'll never get there. I can't imagine how frustrating that must have been. But then I also wonder about how you and your wife decide where the line is between pushing for what you think she can do and what you hope she can do, and accepting what you know she is and what her limitations are.
That's a very difficult line, and it's one that, you know, my position in her life is as an advocate, and it's funny when we're going into these meetings with the schools, whether it's even now when she's in a good school situation or before, everyone sort of has their role to play. And the schools are going in with the position that they have all of these kids that they want to provide services for. So from their perspective of doing their jobs correctly and helping these kids, the less that they can give each an individual child, it's going to be better for all the students. And as a parent, it's almost the other way around. You don't want to go in and say, well, I don't care about these other kids, but your emphasis is going to be on helping your own kid. So it's funny, you go into that situation, everyone's on the same side, and yet you're taking kind of a different perspective. I think that it's difficult to know, because on one hand, I would want to try anything for Schuyler. You know, in my mind, the expense of a device or the expense of moving to a new town or any of that, it almost has to be as unlimited as I can make it. You know, whatever resources I can bring to bear. But at the same time, there are times when I'm helping her with her homework, and if she's having difficulty with something, I do have to ask myself, am I pushing her too hard? Am I pushing her towards something that she's not going to be able to do? But the funny thing is, I think with Schuyler is that she, even when I think I'm pushing too hard, a lot of times she'll kind of defy my expectations, and then I'll feel guilty wow, why didn't I think she could do that? You know, she'll get a list of spelling words from school, and they're really hard. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be rough. She's not going to get that. And maybe she picks up on that and wants to show me up. I don't know, but she tends to defy the expectations, even when I think they're set too high. So a lot of my job is sort of to get out of her way, I think.
We should say very much this is your story. It's about your life with Schuyler, but it's very much about your perception. But for me, one of the hardest things in the book to read about was when she's at the playground and some bigger kid comes along and kind of shoves her and makes fun of her. And boy, I can't imagine how hard it is to not leap in there, especially when you feel like your child is not on equal footing to sort of fight those battles.
It is hard. And it's funny, I remember when that happened, my wife Julie and I were both off to the side just telling each other, don't go in. And we were sort of restraining each other at different times, because Julie would be ready to go in and interfere, or then I would be ready to go in and interfere. So we were sort of checking, keeping check on each other. It is difficult. It's so hard for me not to, and I don't think this has anything to do with anything other than just it's a dad thing. But there are times I want to just take her away from all the dangers and all the the people that are going to be mean to her. And I remember high school. I remember being in school enough to know how kids who are different can be treated. So part of me wants to defend her from all that and step in and protect her and create this little safe zone for her. And it's hard because I don't think you can. And I think that's with any kid. I think what Schuyler is showing is that even with communication issues, even with and she could develop seizures down the road. I mean, they're hard stuff that could come. I think she's ready for it, though. She's a lot more ready than I have ever been. Anytime I feel any anxiety for her, it tends to be my anxiety alone. She tends to knock things down as they come. So,
how do you think you're different today as a parent than you were before you knew that there was anything different about Schuyler?
I think I've had to grow up a lot and grow up in a hurry. I was probably not ready. And I don't know. Is
anybody ready?
I don't know if anyone is ever ready. Even if your kid is completely healthy in every way, it's a daunting prospect. And it's funny, before she was diagnosed, I used to have the most crazy paranoid fears. I was afraid to take her to the mall, to the second level of the mall, because I had this vision that some maniac.
Slip through the.
Well, it wasn't even that. I mean, that makes a little sense. But I had this fear that some crazy person was going to grab her and chuck her over the side. I have no idea where that came from. I never read anything in the paper about that happening. But just these little weird fears that you have as a parent. And then suddenly they became real. And then suddenly it was like, well, now I know what to be afraid of. I think one of the things that I've had to learn, and I think it's something that I'm still learning, is how to let go of some of that anxiety. One of the things that's the hardest about Schuyler's situation is that I can't fix it. Yeah, as a parent, you want to be able to fix everything. You want to think it's my job to, if something comes along that is threatening my child, I'm the person who is going to fix that. And this is something that is hers to fix, and that's hard. That's hard to let go of that.
She talks to you in your dreams?
She does.
What does she say?
She tells me it's going to be okay. That's almost all she says in her dreams. In my dreams, she'll pat me on the hand and tell me everything's going to be okay.
Rob, thank you so much for coming in.
Oh,
really
thank you so
appreciate
much
it.
for having me.
Robert Rummel-Hudson's book is called Schuyler's Monster. You can find a list of upcoming book signing events on our website, kera.org/think.